Hi there, Chris, Chap and the Cap Motor Legends, here today to talk to you about a new boot from the Italian brand Falco. It's a boot that's called the Rooster. So the boot that we're going to be talking about, as I mentioned, is this boot. It's the Rooster from the Italian brand Falco. Now, nobody's going to admit this, least of all anybody from the factory, but in our view, this is a copy, or if I'm being polite, let's call it a tribute to one of our favourite boots, and that's the Roka Urban Racer. It's a boot that looks very similar. This is the Urban Racer, got lots of features in common, this banding around the side. It's in essence the same kind of boot, using the same kind of oiled leather. Now, what the oiled leather does, it gives it a patina, but oiled leather makes the boot more waterproof, or it makes the leather more waterproof. On the Roka Urban Racer, that is the only waterproofing, and actually we have found a number of clients of ours have been commuting in them for a number of years, and people find them very waterproofing. What is going to make this boot potentially even more waterproof is that this boot doesn't just have the waterproof membrane, so it doesn't just have the oil treatment, it has a waterproof membrane as well. That's going to make this pretty much as waterproof as you're going to find in a boot of this style, in other words in a short boot. What you have to remember is, if you are really bothered about waterproofing, you do not ride in a short boot, because the issue is, as you're riding along, the rain's going to hit the ground, it's going to come up over the top of the boot, it's going to find its way over the shaft into the foot. So if you're really bothered about staying dry, then obviously you want a taller boot. But as far as short boots are concerned, I think this is going to be right up there. Now, the other thing that this boot has in common with the Urban Racer, and it's very unusual, I think, in a boot at this price point, and I'll come on and talk about the price point, but it has a Goodyear welted sole. Now, a Goodyear welted sole is an indicator normally of a handmade, bench-made boot. It's the way that Northamptonshire boots and shoes have been made for hundreds of years. In essence, what you've got, you get the outer sole, you have a welt that sews onto the outer sole, and then that's sewed onto the midsole. In between the upper sole, I might have called it the outer sole, the upper sole and the midsole, you then put a layer of cork. And over time, that layer of cork, your foot sinks into it, it creates the shape of your foot, it makes a Goodyear welted boot or shoe particularly comfortable to walk in. It also actually makes a boot a little bit more waterproof, because it's an extra layer that the water can't seep through, as it were. In terms of the other details on this boot, let's just go through them. So it's a 8 eyelet derby. One of the things that I think is a missed trick with this boot that you do have on the Urban Racer is the top 2 eyelets on the Urban Racer are speed laces, and what that means is, because that's a lot of eyelets on a boot, and so that you can spend less time faffing around getting the boots on, or indeed taking them off, the speed eyelets help. So I think that's a little bit of a shame. You've got a gear change pad here. That's quite a way back from the toe, but I think that's going to work in most occasions. On the Urban Racer, you've just got a cap toe, but I think that's going to work pretty well. You've got counters in the heel and the toe. Counters are reinforced elements that just protect the boot in case of an accident. It is, by the way, a pretty rigid boot. There's no mention in the spec of a shank in the sole, so I don't know technically whether there is, but this is a pretty tough boot. The other thing that you've got in terms of protection that you do not get on the Roka boot, you've got actual ankle cups, and in this boot the ankle cups come from a D3O. The Roka boot just relies on a bit of foam here in the top band, but also in the thickness of the leather. But you do have the extra security of knowing that this boot has an energy absorbing piece of material actually around the ankle bone. The outsole is a replaceable Vibram sole, so that's the same as the Urban Racer. That's about as much as you could ask for. Overall, this is a great boot. And whilst there are similarities with the Roka Urban Racer, there are differences, and whilst I prefer in some ways some of the styling elements of the Roka in terms of the functionality, given that you've got a waterproof membrane, given that you've got D3 on the ankles, you could make a case for saying that this is actually a better boot. Comes in black. I think in the black you don't see quite so much the effect of the oiled leather. The brown boot looks a little bit more vintage, a little bit more authentic. This is an oiled leather on the black version, but it's not so heavily done. This is a boot that if you like to polish your boot, this is a boot that will take a polish. So One of the main differences between the two boots, between the Roker and the Falco, is the price. The Rokers come in at £299, the Roosters at £199. So they are 2/3 the money, a saving of £100, and I think that's a significant amount. And what you have to conclude is that with the Roosters, you get a lot of boot for the money. If you'd like to see more Falco boots, or perhaps just more short motorcycle boots, then visit the website motorlegends.com. If you want to learn more about this particular boot, then if you click on one of the links on the screen, sometimes they're up there, sometimes they're down there, that will take you directly to a dedicated page on the website. Now there you can check out availability, you can check out the spec in a little bit more detail, and obviously if you want to buy one, you can do that there and then. When you buy from us, we try to make the process as simple, straightforward and risk-free as we possibly can. There's no delivery charge on any item of protected wear that you buy from us. Returns are totally free, and what's more, we give you a full 12 months in which to decide whether you do want to return something to us. We have the best price promise in the business. Now, John Lewis is rightly famed for its never knowingly undersold price promise. We go one stage better. If you can find anyone selling anything that we sell at a price that is lower than ours, we will beat that competitor's price by a full 10%. If the retailer, by the way, is in the EU and not in the UK, we will match their landed price. Now, there are a few terms and conditions to do with the price beat, nothing particularly onerous, but if you are going to price beat us, then I suggest you visit the website and check out what those terms and conditions are. If in the future you'd like to receive bulletins from us about new products, then if you go to the website, at the top of every page there's a piece of script that says newsletter sign up. Click on there, within seconds you'll be in business. If however you would prefer to get your information videographically, that is to say in this form, we would be simply delighted if you wanted to become a subscriber to our YouTube channel. The other way obviously to keep in touch is to follow us on Facebook. I'd like to finish off with a little play for our shop here in Guildford. We are based about a mile from the centre of Guildford, a mile from the railway station. The shop is small in terms of its footprint, but it's attached to our warehouse where we have more than £2 million worth of merchandise arranged over 3 floors. Technically makes this, small as it might seem, the second largest motorcycle apparel shop in the country. But we actually think that we're far more than just the amount of stock we have here in the building. We're all about service, we're all about personal fitting. If you want to check us out, visit Trustpilot. We have the highest 5-star ranking in the business. When you come and see us, we'll serve you only the finest Italian illy coffee, or we'll serve you proper Yorkshire tea in a proper teapot. And who knows, if you're lucky, you might even get to sample one of Sean's mum's delicious motorcycle-shaped shortbread biscuits. Anyway, this has been Chris. I hope to talk to you again soon.